What you want is to know the eternal truth of who you are. What you want is freedom. What you want is to come home to yourself and to be at total peace with yourself and to act freely from the place of truth. That's all anybody wants. And the ability to do that, the capacity to do that, requires one thing and one thing only, and that's surrender. Surrender. Surrender to the truth of who you are, and to live fearlessly from this place. Obviously, that then requires everybody and everything in the immediate surrounding in your life to either get on board or to depart, which will happen anyway, naturally. So, if you're ready to be yourself, then welcome. Welcome. Authenticity is the currency of the new world. There's nothing else. Authenticity is all there is. There's nothing else but authenticity. And you don't even have to try. That's the beautiful thing about it. There's no need to filter yourself. There's no need to... And I mean that. I really, really mean that. There's absolutely no need to pretend to be anything other than what you really are. And allowing yourself to sink more deeply into that every day, to expand more widely into that every moment, is the only reason why you're here. There's nothing else to do. Everything else has already been done. Everything has already been done. Everything is already done. Everything is taken care of. Your job is to tell the truth and to be true to the essence. Our work is energetic. Spirit moves, body follows. The isness is the business, and business is good. You are here to be true to yourself. You're here to be totally real, authentic. Everything else is just pandering to the process, the processed stuff of whatever, of social media, of it doesn't matter. There's no need to try to look like anything, to try to be anything, to try to come off as anything. You are here to live in perpetual self-surrender. Perpetual surrender to the truth of the self, which means that every moment, every word that you speak is a surprise to you. There's no planning. There's no notion of what it is I'm going to say or how it's going to come out. I simply let it come out. And that seems to go against what we've been taught, right? Think before you speak and so on and so forth. And that's great advice and all to an ego. When you're identified with ego consciousness, okay, that's worthy advice. But when you step into consciousness, expanded, eternal, infinite consciousness, which is the source of your being, it is pure love, it is pure wisdom, it is pure intelligence, and it knows what needs to be said and how it needs to be said in order to shift things the way that things need to be shifted. The ego will resist and say, no, don't say that, no, don't do that, no, don't, because it'll rub people the wrong way and it'll make them angry and it'll make them defensive and it'll break our relationships. Well, if the truth breaks your relationships, then they need to be broken. If the truth upsets the environment around you, then it needs to be upset. If truth burns a bridge, then that bridge needs to be burned. If lies are the only props that keep up your reality, then your reality deserves to burn to the ground. It deserves to be demolished and destroyed. Whatever is being held up by lies deserves to be toppled. Truth is all that matters. There's nothing more important than that. And if you can't tell the truth, what can you do? If you feel you can't tell the truth because it keeps things, or because the lies keep things in a certain place of status quo stagnancy, then you're just killing yourself slowly. You're either expanding or you're contracting. And you're not here to contract. Contraction is a power of mind. It has its place. But expansion is the eternal nature of the soul. And anybody who loves wants expansion. eternal expansion of self, for them and for all. Because we are one soul, we are one energy. We are one consciousness. Expansion doesn't mean endless consumption, which is what it has meant in the egoistic paradigm. It's not about consumption. It's about creation. And insofar as the manifest reality is concerned, that simply means rearranging things in a way that's more suitable for all of us. So true creation is not about me versus you. It's about we. It's about us, together, in cooperation, on all levels. And that doesn't look like us doing the same thing in the same way. The body is in cooperation, and each of the organs has to do its part. If all the organs turned into a kidney or a heart, that wouldn't be worthwhile. The system would collapse. So being one in consciousness doesn't mean that we all play the same part. We all have every body has its part to play. But we are not the body, we are consciousness. We are one consciousness, operating the entire cosmos. And it's all operating perfectly. And to see the perfection of it, which means that rather than trying to change it or alter it from the outside, you shift in conscious awareness from identification with the ego to dropping all identification and seeing that you are the eternal being, you are the eternal soul, you are the eternal consciousness, you are the eternal God, you are the eternal Christ. You don't have to try to be, and you don't have to identify with it. You are still that, whether or not you identify with it. So to even shift the identity from being an ego to being God, even that's unnecessary. Because that God that you identify with is still just the ego in disguise. When you drop all identification, here you are as that eternal being. You don't need to identify with it because you are it without identification. There's no need to try to make an identity of, I am consciousness. Of course you're consciousness. And at first that's what happens. That's one of the pitfalls that we come into. You realize that you are infinite eternal consciousness, and so it's tempting to come up with an identity of I am the consciousness and I am the shaman, and of course you are. Of course you're the shaman. Of course you're Merlin. Of course you're Christ. Of course you're Buddha. Of course you're Buddha. Of course you are. That's a given. That's what we are. That's all there is. That's all that exists. That's all that exists. Everything else that appears to be other than that is an illusion. It's a fiction of mind. It's a projection of mind. Violence, hatred, anger, spiritual upset, these are all diseases, and they compact one another. They spread. And we get sicker and sicker and sicker. I'm not condemning emotion. I'm not condemning anger or anything. It's not about condemnation. It's about seeing the source of it all. What's the source of it? The source of it goes right down to ignorance. Being hooked by ignorance, being ignorant of your own true nature. And we live in a world which is established on the ignorance of our true nature. And the only way to return home, the only way to return to the truth of who we are, is to be willing to totally relinquish the ignorance of it all. And to not be afraid to be who and what we are. And to proclaim it. Go ahead and proclaim it. I am consciousness. I am free. I am one with God. I am one with truth. I am truth. I am peace. I am joy. I am ecstasy. I am clarity. Say it. Proclaim it. And then let the proclamation go. Because it's true whether or not you say the words. It's true whether or not you identify with it. So there's no need for the struggle psychologically of maintaining an identity. No need for it. That's all for the sake of egos. And those who are here in wakefulness, in awareness, we see and recognize each other. And we see and recognize the whole world, realize that the whole world is us. Even the ones that are still apparently asleep at the wheel, who don't realize their Buddha nature, their Christed nature. But they're still that, even though they don't realize it. You see? So, no judgment, but there's still discernment. Judgment and discernment are two different things. So we are here without judgment, without condemnation, but there's discernment. Obviously, or you'd walk off a cliff. The body could walk off a cliff, or you can't drive a vehicle without discernment. You can't speak a language without discernment. So discernment stays. Discernment is clarity of perception. But judgment, there's no need to judge. No need to condemn. So it's a necessary stage once you wake up, or if you'd like to use the word enlightenment, when you step into the realization of the eternal, birthless, and deathless nature of your being, you'll then make an image of it. I'm God. I'm consciousness. I'm immortal. I am the unborn and the undying. Yes, you are. But you're so much that you don't even need to say it. You can say it, but you don't need to make an identity of it. You see, you can say it, but you don't need to. And if it becomes an identity, and you then say, well, I'm this, and they're that, I'm awake, and they're not, then you can see where there is sleepfulness. You can see where someone is stuck in the dream, and that's part of the disease of mind that all of humanity has been subjected to for millions of years now, really. Our whole modern civilizational structure of the past 10,000 years, going all the way back to the last 2 million years of our biological evolution as sapiens, Homo sapiens. But where we come from originally, our true nature can be known, and the true nature is love, is cooperation, is tenderness, is gentleness, is intelligence, is wisdom, is peace, is love, is ecstasy, is joy, is clarity of perception, communion with everything, without having to mediate any of it through the vehicle of the intellect. The intellect is a secondary, even at its tertiary, compared to the direct reality of knowing, of perception. But we've been stuck in the realm of the intellect for so long, which can only divide and cut. And when you identify with the cutting instrument, you naturally identify with this side versus that side, this fragment versus that fragment. And there's the fall, there's the corruption. That is corruption. The word corrupt literally means to break into pieces. It's not a value judgment. It literally means to break into pieces. And that's the disease. That's violence. That's hatred. That's anger. That's where it comes from. That's its root. Corruption and reaction against corruption. So to come all the way down to the root, to where all of that dissolves, to return home, where all of it is seen to be an illusion, it never was. Suffering is an illusion. The shadow's an illusion. The ego's an illusion. Separation is an illusion. Time is an illusion. And the belief in all of that is what gives birth to ambition and striving and greed and hatred. And I'm not saying don't do something. If you want to work out, work out. If you want to learn a language, learn a language. If you want to build something, build something. I mean, I'm not telling you not to be creative. Be creative. But all true creativity comes from love, which is perception of what is beneficial, not what hurts, not what causes strife. The words strife and striving are related. But we think of striving and ambition as the drive to do something. But drive, what's driving you? Motive, what's motive? Fear. When you act out of love, there's no fear. And therefore there's no attachment to the outcome. And so you put your whole being into whatever you're doing. And if you fail, you fail. If it falls, it falls. It's okay. You get back up, you get back up, you get back up. It's a whole different energy. The energy of motive, of ambition, is limited, and it's directional, it's pre-planned. And so it always brings about division. But love, peace, joy, ecstasy, is always all-inclusive and in harmony with the natural rhythm of life and of nature and of God, of the source of creation. So, you embody it by being authentic. You embody it by not trying to be like anyone or anything else. Now, that doesn't mean that you throw out the skills of the mind. You do have to set them down and allow them to either, maybe they'll disappear, maybe they'll simply be reconfigured and transformed. Who knows? You'll see. But there are certain skills. It's good to know how to blend in. It's good to know how to conceal. These are all powers of mind. And they've served you up to this point. They've served you. But can you let them go? Can you let them go? And trust that you don't need them anymore. Trust. Trust. Which is the meaning of faith, which is not belief. Belief and faith are not the same. Belief is a clinging to concepts and words, ideas. Faith is perception of the eternal. And the great beauty of being human is that you can know God directly. You can know consciousness directly. You can know truth, because you are truth. You don't know it as an object. You know it as being itself, beingness itself. So don't run. Don't be afraid. This is what we came here for. Let yourself have it. Seize it. Let it seize you. Seize each other. And see that it's always been you and you. You running from you. You chasing you. You hiding from you. And when you see it, you'll laugh your ass off, and you'll probably cry a lot too. You'll laugh and you'll cry and you'll cry and you'll laugh. I love laughing and crying. So, here we are, and don't be fucking selfish with it. Share it. Share it with the world. This is to be shared, because this is its time. It's just time. There's no more fucking time. We're here to share. So share. Share, 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 share. 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 Share your beauty self. Your beauty self. Share your beautiful self with the world. Share your beauty with the world, because it's the world's beauty. Your beauty is the world's beauty. So love yourself. That's a weird thing to say. Just love. Yourself is love. And love loves love. Peace.